I originally had this trip planned for May 2020 and had to cancel it due to COVID. That was a whole 4 years ago. So I've been waiting 4 whole years to come here and I couldn't be more excited. This is Iceland!
Geothermal activity and extreme weather have shaped the landscape into a photographer's dream. Plunging waterfalls crash from above, mountains shoot straight out of the sea, volcanic craters tower above, and every turn in the road reveals a new, jaw-dropping vista. Iceland can be harsh and unforgiving.
It can be a little bit hard to portray how windy it actually is, I think, on camera, but bloody hell!
But it's always beautiful and awe-inspiring. And in the land of the midnight sun, conditions can change on a dime. It's difficult to convey how incredible and impressive the landscape here is via images or video. Everything we witness surpassed our expectations, and some things are just best seen with your own eyes. But I'll do my best to give you an insight into what has now become an iconic destination and what it has to offer. Join us as we drive the Icelandic ring road and beyond. These are my top photography locations in Iceland.
So this is our first stop to a waterfall on the ring road. One of many waterfalls that I cannot pronounce the name of, but this is that famous one that you can walk behind. So as you can see, we are pretty much kitted out head to toe waterproofs, and we're heading over. It's been super windy today as well, so I think the spray from this waterfall is worse than usual. Just got absolutely soaked just walking past that waterfall. So head to toe Cortex is definitely a good idea, but worth it.
Also raining and like windy as well.
Oh yeah, a great way to start the trip, just get absolutely soaked on the first waterfall we see. So in all honesty, that was absolute chaos trying to shoot inside that waterfall without getting gear completely soaked. But I think I managed to get some good ones, kind of in a bit of a panic. Hopefully you've seen those and those turned out all right. But just down the road from that waterfall as well, there is a slightly less explored one, only about 500-600 meters away, that's hidden inside a canyon. Well, that was also pretty incredible, to be fair. What a way to start the trip. So Skogafoss behind me here is the second waterfall stop of our ring road trip, and the first one that I can actually pronounce. But you might be able to see behind me here, it's already getting pretty busy. It's about 9 AM and all the tour buses have started to arrive, so if you are coming here to shoot, I'd recommend getting here before 8 AM if you can. The sun has actually been up since about 3 a.m. and I did set my alarm, but we just didn't sleep at all for about 36 hours, so I couldn't bring myself to get out of bed at 3 a.m. to shoot kind of sunrise. But I think I've still got some pretty good pictures a little bit later in the morning. So on our third day, we've come a little bit off of the ring road actually, about 15 kilometers inland, down kind of a gravel road to this little place called Thakgil. And it's still super windy down here, but it is really beautiful here.
Once upon a time at this canyon, you could explore right to the edge. However, as its popularity increased, viewpoints and trails were closed off, limiting compositions. You're now restricted to a few viewing platforms. However, you can fly drones here, so some of the best shots to be had are from the air.
We're on day 4 now of our road trip and we've seen absolutely loads. And here's another waterfall. This is Svartifoss. But what I will say is, if you are a photographer, a little word of warning: a lot of these locations that you've probably seen pictures of in the past are actually quite restricted nowadays. So I think this has changed in the last 5 or 10 years, but here Svartifoss is kind of surrounded by this big platform, big viewing platform with kind of rusty iron railing. And there's lots of signs telling you can't go any closer, so compositions are just super limited. So I think with some of these places you've probably just seen one picture, or you feel like a lot of people get the same picture because that's all you can get. And I don't want to be that person that's walking out of these barriers and going up front to get a composition that's a bit more appealing. So I'm kind of stuck with taking a really simple, generic composition, which is a bit of a shame. So just a word of warning: if you're here for photography, maybe don't worry too much about locations like some of these, and spend some more time, maybe a little bit more off the beaten track, or at locations where you can kind of wander around a little bit. This morning is day 5 of our road trip and we are here at Diamond Beach. You've got Glacier Lagoon just over the road there as well. It's been somewhat quite a stressful photography experience, I would say. Now, like sometimes when you come here, I believe these kind of icebergs or lumps of ice can be quite large, but at the moment they are pretty small. It's just kind of luck of the draw in regards to weather and time of year. But realistically, I started off on the other side, which is the area labelled as Black Diamond Beach on Google Maps. And I started shooting there, even though the colour and all the sun was really in a different direction. And then I kind of tried my best to get some shots. So I was running away from the waves, getting soaking wet feet. And then eventually I came over to this side, and then I was shooting directly towards the colour in the sky. And again, I think I got a couple of good shots, so you're going to have to let me know what you think of those. Hopefully you'll have seen the edited versions already. But yeah, pretty stressful, super wet feet, pretty tired, had to get up at 2 a.m. I think if you're planning to come here for photography, plan a little bit better than I did.
Glacier Lagoon does exactly what it says on the tin. It's a lagoon at the end of a glacier, of which the name I can't pronounce, full of floating icebergs. You can explore by boat or simply stroll the shoreline, enjoying the views and spotting seals. It's a great opportunity to grab a longer lens and find some more abstract shots amongst the ice.
So you might be able to tell it is obviously still pretty cold this morning and pretty windy still, but it is beginning to settle down. But you probably recognise this location behind me here. This is Stockness Beach, and that's Vestrahorn mountain in the distance. And this is probably one of the most popular photography locations in Iceland. Super famous, you've probably seen it on Instagram and all over the internet. And there's good reason for that as well. Like, this location actually offers lots of different photographic opportunity. You see we've got all the grasses running through the black dunes here. We've got some great reflections on the beach, and as well as the kind of sea lapping the shore over there as well. So there is great scope for lots of different images here. There's also a little bit more to this location than I actually expected as well. So just over here we have a little area where there's lots of seals and loads of bird life. There's actually a lighthouse just on the rocks over there as well. And right there in the distance, you have this strange little Viking village that was built for a movie prop for a film that actually never happened in 2010. But I believe it was also used in a few episodes of The Witcher. So that also makes some great little shots as well. But yeah, if this isn't on your list, it should be. I'm sure it is. But if it's not, add it on. And it's a perfect place for a morning or an evening of photography. And I mean, have you even been to Iceland if you haven't seen and photographed a puffin?
So this actually ended up being one of my favourite stops. And yeah, I took way too many pictures of puffins.
One good thing about Godafoss is, compared to some of the other waterfalls, there are actually quite a few different viewpoints to choose from. So even with staying within the barriers and within the walkways, you can get a few different compositions. What we've been finding actually a lot of the time at the waterfalls, especially in Iceland, is there's a pathway and a viewing platform, and that's the only place you can go without damaging kind of flora and fauna. So you are really restricted. But here, there are pathways up both sides, viewing platforms, and you can even get all the way down to the riverfront there as well, and get a little bit closer and a little bit lower. Now, Kirkjufell obviously had to be a location on our road trip here in Iceland, and it is fantastic for photography. The drive in was actually a little bit longer than I expected coming from the north, but there was also some great opportunities for photography actually on that road, some great volcanic craters and all sorts of different landscapes. That was pretty awesome. Again, here we are seeing a lot of roped off barriers and kind of you are restricted to the walkways to shoot from. Now, I don't know if that's something that's happened in the last few years or not, because I've seen a lot of images taken from not on those walkways, and you can still see a lot of trodden paths that go down to maybe slightly more interesting compositions, but I'm not one to want to stray from the path and kind of respect it and respect the closure for the fauna and flora and the wear and tear around. But given that, there are still a lot of composition options here. There's lots of different waterfalls to use in the foreground. There's some great reflections in the lagoon around the corner as well. And right now it's not actually that busy, and it's the best light we've had all trip. So super excited. I'm going to grab as many pictures as I can tonight.
Our final stop in Iceland was Thorsmork, a valley named after the god of thunder, so you know it's going to be good. It's a little harder to access, but offers some breathtaking views. I'll have more on this location coming soon, so subscribe, and thanks for watching.